Watch this.
The backseat became a bed, the trunk a closet. One woman's journey through homelessness is now fueling a fight against a statewide ban. A citizen-led push to change Idaho's abortion laws is stuck. We'll explain why supporters are playing a waiting game, one that costs valuable time. He's been a part of the KTVB family for nearly 14 years, telling the stories of Idaho sports with honesty, heart, and that unmistakable flip-flop flair. Tonight, we say goodbye to Jay Tust. The holding pattern continues for a group of Idahoans looking to reverse Idaho's near-total abortion ban. Idahoans United for Women and Families is working towards getting a question on the ballot in 2026, the Reproductive Freedom and Privacy Act, asking Idahoans to directly weigh in on what the law of the land of abortion and reproductive rights should look like in the gem state, and that provision includes a proposal to allow abortions up to fetal viability, and that's commonly recognized in the medical community as about 23 to 24 weeks. Idahoans United thought here in the month of June, their nearly 1,000 volunteers across the state would be out campaigning for thousands of signatures, a goal of about 100,000 to make the ballot. But the Idaho Supreme Court is still thinking over how to deal with claims that the Attorney General used confusing language in crafting the ballot title that would go out to voters. The AG, under Idaho law, is responsible for writing those based on submitted ballot language from the group. And Idahoans United also claims that the fiscal impact statement, the cost of what saying yes to the proposal would mean, they believe it was written in an overblown way that prevents voters from approving the idea. The law says that financial language needs to be clear, concise, and unbiased. And the Supreme Court heard arguments about that from Idahoans United and the AG's office back on April 25th. 48 days later, there is still no ruling, putting the initiative group in a tough spot. A citizen push to change Idaho's abortion laws remains paused.
There's a saying that when the wise fisherman, when you cannot go to sea, you sit on the beach and you mend your nets. And so we've mended a lot of nets.
Melanie Falwell is executive director for Idahoans United for Women and Children. That group had hoped to be out gathering signatures to qualify for the 2026 ballot, but a dispute continues over the state-issued ballot text.
Because they weren't lawful, we sued. And that's unfortunate we had to sue. Had we received a clear, transparent, easy to understand fiscal impact statement from the state, we would have been out gathering signatures for 6 months now.
But the wait continues, one that Falwell says could have been avoided if the state simply followed the law.
If we'd gotten lawful, fair titles and a lawful, fair fiscal impact statement. It's really important that the voters see that this law, if passed, does not cost them anything, that this has no impact on the budgets of the state of Idaho.
In court, the Attorney General's office argued their ballot title wording was fair, and if they were looking to have politically motivated text, they would have used a term like unborn child.
I think it's exactly equivalent. Our position is that fetus viability and fetal viability are essentially the same term, that modifying a noun with another noun is common English.
So if what you just said is correct, then you have no problem if we change the language back to how the statute words it?
Well, we have a problem because the AG hasn't exceeded its jurisdiction. This ballot title fairly acquaints voters with the purpose of the initiative.
Idahoans United argues that the required fiscal impact statement is misleading and biased. They say it wrongly implies that the initiative would cost the state major money, even referencing implications with $850 million in Medicaid spending. A new Idaho law requires that economic statement,
which is kind of new, uncharted territory. That's a more recently passed law. So I think the court is doing their due diligence, their process. And it's unfortunate that we had to sue it all.
The waiting game continues, eating valuable time for the campaign to get signatures.
So we won't get that time back. We're losing critical time, particularly in beautiful June, May. Would have been great to gather signatures. But again, because we did not have our final titles and fiscal impact statement, we were not able to circulate.
And another wrinkle for Idahoans United for Women and Families is that they have to stand by for printing out all of their signature pages that their volunteers will use, because the ballot title needs to appear on each signature page. So until they get that, they can't even really start the paperwork. They have until April of next year to get about 70,000 valid signatures, and to make sure they hit that threshold, they have a goal of getting 100,000. A new Idaho law set to take effect July 1st will ban camping in public spaces or in your vehicle. A woman who was formerly unhoused, spending 9 months living in her car, says that there's a difference between camping and surviving. And as Aspen Shumpert learned, that woman is trying to stop this law from going into effect.
My little USB fan was my lifeline in the summertime.
Back in 2019, this was Cassidy Landry's home.
I ended up getting into a really bad, very toxic relationship that kind of was a domino effect of me losing my job and then losing my housing, not being able to pay.
She went on to live in her car for 9 months.
When you're having to maintain survival of things that like you normally would do in your home, and you're doing it out in public, is such a degrading, and it's embarrassing, and it's so shameful.
She says she tried to stay at the local shelters in Boise.
But it was such a new and overwhelming, scary, degrading almost experience for me. After that one night sleeping there and sleeping in that cot that wasn't mine with a blanket that, 100 other women had used, I had to get up at 5 in the morning, and then I was on my own for the rest of the day. And so from that experience, after that first day, I was thinking like, you know what, I think I'm gonna try to just live in my car.
She says her car became her sanctuary.
You don't have a lot of control when you are living, when you are homeless. And being in my car, I was able to stay with my things. It was the only piece of thing that was mine.
You wouldn't consider what you were doing as camping?
No, I was surviving.
Now housed, she's fighting to stop Idaho's public camping ban from taking effect July 1st with a petition.
There's such a stigma around homelessness, and I wanted to voice that, I wasn't any of those stigmas that you're putting. I wasn't, trashy, I wasn't loud, I wasn't making a scene.
The new law prevents people from unauthorized sitting or laying for a prolonged amount of time and sleeping in vehicles.
If this law was in effect while you were living in your car, what would you have done?
I don't know. I have no idea. And I almost don't even want to think about it because it's that scary.
There were a few spots around Boise Landry says she'd regularly park. Today, she took us back to one of those spots. For the first time in 6 years, in the same car she once slept in.
And there's my car.
Which one?
That one. Here we go. And I'm really fortunate for my daily main parking space during the day that I was never bothered there. So it's just one of those spots where it's like I'll always remember and I'll always appreciate.
Pulling back in the parking lot, Landry says, brings up a lot of different emotions.
I don't know, it's weird. It's like, oh man, it gives me just this weird feeling of, I've done this before. It's weird being back here. So of course back then it was like a little different. This is now just my vehicle, and never have I ever slept in my vehicle since.
She hopes sharing her story will help Idaho lawmakers understand the unhoused community a little more.
And it's sad to know that now somebody else that's just like me right now in their car with babies trying to work on their situation is not going to be as lucky as me.
Landry says she wasn't aware a law like this was being talked about by Idaho lawmakers, ending with it getting signed into law by the governor, which is a big part of why she is speaking out now, since she did not share her story with lawmakers this past session. Her hope is the governor will stop this from going into law in just a few weeks. We reached out to the bill sponsors of this bill, Representative Bruce Skog and Senator Cody Galloway. Didn't hear back from Galloway, but Skog said he wasn't aware of the petition. So it looks like they're not aware this petition is going around. Again, it's just been about 2 days that this has been live, has a few hundred signatures as of now.
It's an interesting situation. You can see the human element of, you can understand why lawmakers went down this path, but you could also see the impact on people that didn't even know it existed. And, you ask in the story, where would you be, if you didn't have this, and if this law was in effect, it's possible that she could have gone to jail or something, which would have put her on a very different path.
Very much so.
Okay, Aspen Shumpert reporting. We'll see what comes from this. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back here on the 208. Well, this is one of those stories that's tough to tell, not because it's sad, it is sad, but it's also so full of gratitude. After nearly 14 years here at KTVB, our longtime sports director, Jay Tust, signing off for the last time tonight. And Jay's covered some of the biggest names and most unforgettable moments in Idaho sports history, and he's done it all with heart, hustle, and his trademark combo of flip-flops and fierce storytelling. He's headed for a brand new chapter in his life. But before we go on, we want to take a moment to pause, look back, and to say thank you to Jay.
I don't know where to start with Jay.
JT!
I hate it.
Okay, what do I say about Jay?
Oh man.
I don't know why I'm talking like this.
He's a vegaphobe, that he runs off of Red Bull, and that sleep is not something that comes to him naturally.
I was working at KTVB for 13 years, worked with a few sports people in the past, did some traveling back then. But when Jay came in, it was a whole nother story. Shows got bigger, content got cooler, and everything else just of course became what Jay is now.
I mean, you think about it, when he got here 14 years ago, and I thought, this is our third sports director at Channel 7 in the last 45 years. Larry Maneely, me, and now Jay Tust. And I said, buddy, you're gonna have to go to work. And boy, did he.
If you really worked with him, you would also know that he was easily one of the hardest workers I've ever worked with.
Yeah, nobody works harder than Jay Tust. And I've got the perfect example of that. When we had an opening here at Channel 7 for a sports director, I called him up. He was in Lewiston. I'd watched him. I'd watched his product in Lewiston. He'd cover my sons in baseball up there. I call him up. And you know how bad he wanted the job at Channel 7? He drove all night long to get here. He was knocking on the Channel 7 doors in the morning. Is that Jay Tust?
It's been fun reflecting on our 8 years together sharing that desk. It was the honor of my career, being able to share it with you. I reflect on all those journeys and memories that we shared and made together. That one time I almost forgot to press record on a big interview with Coach Pete that nearly gave the both of us heart attacks. I think about the Fiesta Bowl, and I also think about those small memories that I cherish as well. Those times like when we were in Laramie, Wyoming together in the middle of November and just freezing our tails off, but enjoying it because we had each other.
No one likes to work weekends, but I would always, if someone was off on Sunday or Saturday, I would always pick up that shift because I knew that I got to work with the sports guys and I got to work with Jay. And so that made it so fun because they just, Jay especially, he's so much fun to be around and he's just so passionate about what he does that it makes life so fun.
Greetings from the dead center of Tennessee. How's it going, Jay? Sorry I couldn't be there in person to say goodbye to you properly, but I figured I'd find the closest sporting facility and just do it there, kind of like you did with your stadium tours for so many years. Well, I guess it's fitting that I'm coming to you from the middle of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State University, because you've been the heart of the KTVB sports department for a decade and a half, which is pretty impressive, and it's pretty remarkable. And I know we never have been here to the home of the Blue Raiders. We've never traveled here covering the Broncos over the years, but we have traveled to so many places like Corvallis, Albuquerque. We have gone to Scottsdale most recently. So it has been a pleasure to go to all those places with you and covering the Broncos and watch how you do it, because I don't know that Channel 7 or KTVB has ever had a sports director that has worked as hard as you all of these years.
He was here all night long some nights.
I hope to have the work ethic that Jay has. I think that is something that you can't teach.
All through the night, working on a Bronco preseason special, a Boise State basketball postseason special.
The hardest worker I've ever worked with in my career, the most creative, the best writer, the best shooter, best editor. I could go on and on for days.
And I said, calm down a little bit. You're making me look bad. Because I didn't do that. I know Larry Maneely didn't do that. Jay did.
But above all else, the biggest thing I share is just our friendship. And I know that moving forward, that's just going to continue and only get stronger.
He is a beautiful human being, and what he brings to sports is the fact that he's played the game at a high level. So he gets it. He can talk to the athletes, he can talk to the coaches, he can talk to the administration, and yet bring it to us in a way that we can understand it as someone who never played competitive sports but absolutely loves it.
I love you guys. So excited and happy for you. And one final time, go Cougs and go Clones.
Jay is one of those guys that his passion was Channel 7 and still is, his job, but first and foremost, his family, his wife Camille, his 2 kids. That is what Jay Tust is all about, and that's where I really feel like we got a winner, a legend. He deserves to have his jacket hung in the rafters next to mine because Jay Tust is a legacy of Channel 7. I love the guy.
Thank you, Jay. I know that this is the right role for you, but there's gonna, okay, we'll just stop there. We'll stop there.
Hey Jay, congrats on a great run at KTVB. You're Boise's #1 anchor with a faux hawk. I'll never forget those drives down to Albuquerque, Laramie, Fresno, Logan. Now you don't have to do that with a car. You'll be in a chartered plane. You're going to have a great time. Congrats on the new gig, and good luck.
I think his legacy at KTVB is going to be of elevating sports coverage here locally. I don't think many people did it better than him, and I think that I'm proud to have worked alongside of him.
The one thing I have to say is that he got a lot of compliments on his shoes, and I always laughed every time he would get compliments on his shoes. So, Jay, you're styling man. You got some beautiful shoes, dude.
But just know that you're going to be missed like really nobody else in that newsroom. It's been a pleasure to work with you. It has been an honor to see how you do it, and I know you will keep doing it. And that's what's most impressive, is that you have the determination, and I said the care. It matters to you. And so Boise State's going to see that firsthand, and they're going to love it just as much as we have. So take care, good luck, stay in touch. You're still a big dumb idiot.
I love Jay. Jay, I wish you so much luck. I am so excited for you, and I'm so happy you're staying here so that I can see you as much as I can. TV son.
I think you saw that with Brian Holmes right there, but had a lot of, I would say, friendships built off sarcasm. So on that note, I hate you, Kevin, for doing that to me right there, but it's been awesome. I didn't think it would come down to this, but no, it's been really, really cool, and I'm so grateful. You can see how much this place means to me, and it's not easy to say goodbye as I just blubber through this. So all the nice things they said about me certainly aren't true, because all of those people are more talented than I ever could wish to be. I was the shy kid growing up. The worst nightmare was a teacher calling on you to read in class. And I don't know how I ended up kind of doing that for a living, but I always said just wanted to work hard and be nice to people. And I was placed in a city that just embraces that to its core. And I'm happy that I don't have to leave, because I do love this place, but I will miss you guys, and you can see why. So.
You know, Carolyn, she was a great story. You drove through the night. You came and knocked on the store, Channel 7. What do you think you would say to Jay Tust, day one in Boise?
Oh, man. Get ready. I literally thought that I would be here for the length of my first contract, which was 3 years. And eternally grateful for Kate Morris, our former news director, our former general manager here at KTVB, who believed in me and did enough to get me to stay time and time again. And I shouldn't even say get me to stay. She just continued to, give me opportunities. And eventually I stayed long enough to meet my wife, and a beautiful woman from Boise, and I just became a Boisean, and now we got kids, and we get to call this place home. And it's there's wonderful people here. Lisa Chavez, our news director, Professionally, we've kind of grown up next to each other. She used to sit just a couple chairs down from me, and now she's had a couple of big offices in this place, one before the remodel, one after, but just a great friend. And our current general manager, Jess Hagan, has continued to believe in me, and all the wonderful people here, Brady Frederick, Will Hall, Joe Paris, Zach Armstrong, Danny Alsop. I hate this because I'm going to forget people, but I cherish a lot of them. I truly cherish everybody, Joe, with the exception of Brian Holmes.
Maybe he's the big dumb idiot here.
Maybe he's the
Maybe
big
he
dumb
is.
idiot.
All right. Well, you know how it goes in the business. We're
Yeah.
short for time. Jay, I love you so much.
Love you too, buddy.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, you will.
We'll have you live on the news at 6, live on the Blue. We'll hear more about the future of Jay Tust. For now, though, we'll leave you with some of the highlights of Jay Tust's career. I'm lost for words too, Jay. Love you.